Hey guys, this is a review of the Voyo i7 Plus, the Chinese tablet that is supposed to be like the Surface Pro. Now it's not really there, but the price of this thing is way lower than the Surface, and you should be looking at 600 euros for this model. For these specs, here are the specs as well. And with the specs come some problems. So it's an i7 from the 7th generation, but the thing is that 8th generation is way better. So this CPU gets very hot. Here are the temperatures, okay? And here are some benchmarks. Continuing on with the CPU problem, so it gets very hot and that's an issue for holding it in your hands. When the CPU is 80 degrees, you're pushing something, doing something very intensive, you really cannot hold it in your hands, otherwise you'll just burn your hands. And that's kind of an issue for a tablet. Otherwise, there's plenty of RAM, 8 gigs, that's a lot. You can go up to 16 gigs. You can get large SSDs on this thing as well that are pretty fast. And also I have no complaints about the Wi-Fi. It works as fast as my home network is. Now of course the body tour. So on the bottom it's where you attach the keyboard, which I've heard is pretty bad, so I don't have it. On the left side it's a charging port, USB 3 port, and the USB Type-C, which does not support charging, but you can output video through a dongle. And also there's a mini HDMI. On the top there's a power button and vents, and this thing actually has a fan. It can get pretty loud, kinda sounds like a jet. And on the right side we have volume buttons, a micro SD card slot, 3.5mm jack, and another USB 3.0. As I mentioned, you can also get a keyboard extension for this tablet, and you can also get a pen. The pen is touch sensitive, so you can press in harder and softer and it will change in certain programs. It's a very nice pen, it's heavy enough and it feels nice, it's nice to use. The screen is very beautiful. It's a 3K IPS panel, but the 3K causes some issues with the GPU because the GPU isn't very powerful, and on some applications the 3K just brings the device down and makes it a little bit more slower and laggier because it's 3K and the dedicated graphics on the CPU really aren't that good. Unfortunately, my touch screen has some problems. There are dead spots around the right side of the screen and it's really unbearable. It's not really usable and I can notice it with my fingers, and the pen is way easier to notice because that's just more precise, and that's not acceptable. I'm not saying that your device will have this, but apparently my device just didn't pass the quality check right. And two things that are actually very bad on this device, well, the cameras and the stereo speakers. That's maybe 4 things, but actually look at these pictures and then listen to this video. It's just unusable for any kind of use. The cameras are bad. Let's be honest, these cameras are pretty bad and the zoom in is insane. And the FPS is bad and the angle of viewing is very low. To be honest, the view starts about like 5 meters in front of me. And you think that the speakers are important for media consumption on a tablet, but they really cheaped out on the speakers. The mids are very harsh, there's absolutely no bass, and it just sounds very canny and tinny. Maybe listen yourself through my recording, might give you an idea of how tinny it is.
Fuck if I gotta drop you out this spaceship far, boy. It goes from inside to outside real fast, boy. And there's no second chance, boy. I'm a motherfucking star, boy. So you're gonna see me better off anyways.
Now just some informative things. The BIOS isn't very feature packed. Look at this yourself. There isn't much you can do, so if you're planning to do anything with the BIOS, stay away from this tablet. There's not really much useful you can do there. And this is the charger. It's one of those Apple kind of chargers where you can flip in the plug, but it's only a US variant, so you're gonna get an adapter with your tablet when you order it. And the last thing that's left is the battery life, which I can say is mediocre. On high intensity tasks you can get like 4 hours of use, maybe even less, like 3 hours. And on low intensity, probably like 8 hours watching videos. It doesn't use that much battery when CPU is not utilized much. The battery is nothing big on this thing, also it takes quite a while to charge it. So even though it might look like a Surface Pro and have similar specs, it definitely does not perform like one. And who is this device for? Well, maybe for people who don't care about the onboard sound, like people who just want to draw on their tablet. I imagine that would be a good use case. And hopefully your touchscreen works alright. If not, just get a refund obviously. And that's it for this review.